Hey guys, it's Charles Yeager for PremiumBeat.com. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this cool faux Zolly effect on your footage and how you can save it as a preset. Let's take a look at the effect. Before we get started, if you guys want to use this effect right now, you can download a free After Effects preset at PremiumBeat.com. The blog post link will be in the description. All right, now that we're inside of After Effects, we can go ahead and take another look at how this effect works. You can see it's as if the camera zooms out, but we also see kind of an optics distortion there, like it's zooming in. And so that's kind of the faux Zolly effect that we're going for. So let's go ahead and create this effect. I'm just going to add some new footage here to a composition. And so the first move I want to do on my footage is essentially the dolly back move, where I'm kind of zooming back from the footage. So what we need to do is essentially scale our footage up, but I actually don't want to scale the actual footage. I'd rather use an effect. That way we can save this out as a preset for later. So the first effect I want to use is the transform effect. So I'll come to the effects and presets panel here and type in transform. You'll see the effect under distort, and I'm just going to select that and apply it to my footage. And transform is a really underrated effect in my opinion for After Effects. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it from the effects panel here instead of actually doing it on your footage. But again, the first thing we want to do is the actual scale. So I'm just going to move down here in my clip a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and create a keyframe for scale. I'm actually going to set this to be 140. Now I am using HD footage in this case, and we are scaling it up past HD for this part of the effect. But because this effect happens so quick, most people won't notice that you actually are scaling up your original footage. And so now let's go ahead and take a look at that keyframe. I'm going to select my footage. I'm going to hit U on the keyboard to show that keyframe, and there it is right there. So now what I want to do is I want to move down about 15 frames. So I'm going to hold shift and just hit page down to move down 10 frames. And then I'm just going to push page down a few more times to make it 15. And now we want to go ahead and create another keyframe here. And I'm going to set this scale to be 100. And so now we've essentially scaled back from our footage. And if I just scroll over this, you'll see we kind of have this vanilla dolly back move here. But we can make this a lot more interesting by actually tweaking the keyframes so that it kind of speed ramps when it zooms back. So I'm actually going to move this up just so we can see this a little bit easier. And I'm going to select this first keyframe, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select keyframe velocity. And I'm going to go ahead and tweak some of these values here. So for the incoming velocity, I'll have it on 0, and I'm going to put the influence to be 16. And now for the outgoing velocity, I'm going to set this first number to 0. And for the influence, I'm going to set this to be 76. And I'm just going to click OK. So that creates kind of an easy ease keyframe there. And on this second keyframe, I'm just going to select that and right click, go to keyframe velocity, and essentially just do the reverse. So I'm going to set this to 0. And the influence, I'm going to set that to be 76. And for the outgoing velocity, I'll have it at 0 and the influence to be 16. And I'll click OK. And so if we go ahead and look at the graph editor here for the keyframe, you can see we get kind of a speed ramp effect, this nice kind of bell curve, where it slowly speeds up, then we get a quick zoom, and then it slows back down to keep it smooth. So let's go ahead and do a RAM preview to see how this looks so far. Now we get a lot more pleasing movement as it dollies back. All right, now we need to kind of emulate the lens zoom, and to do that we're going to use an optics distortion effect. So I'm just going to come up here and type in optics. And you're going to see the optics compensation under distort. So I'm just going to select that effect and apply it underneath the transform effect. And I'm just going to move this out so we can see all of the settings here. So what we need to do first is I'm actually going to align my current time indicator above the first keyframe we created for scale. And if you can't see that again, just hit U on the keyboard to bring up your keyframes. And so for the field of view, I'm going to have it at 0. And I'm going to go ahead and create a keyframe there for that. But something else we need to create a keyframe for is actually the reverse lens distortion. So I'm going to check this on and also create a keyframe for that. And that'll create a hold keyframe. And really all that does is when we save this out as a preset, it's just going to know to always apply the reverse lens distortion, because if we don't have that checked, later on it would actually reverse that, and we don't want that. All right, so let's go ahead and move our current time indicator now down to where the second keyframe is for the transform effect. And we're going to set the field of view here to be 64. And you're going to see how that kind of changed the field of view. And now I can go ahead and scroll back and forth here to kind of see that work. However, right now if I RAM preview this, we're going to see it doesn't really look very smooth. And that again is because we need to apply that same easing to our optics compensation. So I'm just going to select my footage and hit U again to see those keyframes for the optics compensation. I'm just going to move this up and pull this up just a little bit more so this doesn't get cut off. And I'm going to select that keyframe, right click, and go to keyframe velocity. And for the incoming velocity, we're going to just duplicate what we did before, have it at 0 per second, and the influence be 16. And for the outgoing, I'll set this at 0 per second, and the influence to be 76. And now let's go ahead and select the second keyframe, right-click keyframe velocity, and just reverse that. So it'll be 0 and 76 for influence, and 0 and 16 for influence. Once again, we can select those keyframes and select the graph editor here, and we can see we're still getting that bell curve effect, and that's what we want. And so now we can go ahead and RAM preview this. And now we're getting a nice smooth faux Zolly effect on our footage. But something else I found that really makes it pop a little bit more is actually to offset these keyframes here for the field of view. Because if we notice here, if I actually just turn off the scale for a second, if we notice when I move the current time indicator over, we really don't see any change in the field of view until several keyframes in on the effect. So one way to kind of get this to pop a little bit quicker is I'm just going to offset the keyframes here. So I'm going to turn that transform back on. And I'm going to select the first keyframe for your optics compensation and just move it over 1. So it occurs 1 frame before the actual scale starts to occur. And for the last keyframe, I'm going to move it 1 after. That way those are kind of stair-stepping right here. And now go ahead and RAM preview this. And I just find this gives the shot that extra little pop there at the end with the optics compensation, really draws attention to it and makes the distortion look pretty unique. And that's really all there is to create the faux Zolly effect. Now if you want to offset your keyframes to create your own effect, if you want it to happen really quick, you can do that. Or you can draw it out really long and customize these values to really be anything you want. One other thing I want to show you though is how to actually make this a preset. That way you can just drag and drop it onto any footage. And to do that, it's really easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of my keyframes here, including that hold keyframe. And then I'm going to come over here and look at this little post-it note that's right here at the bottom of the effects and presets panel. I'm going to select that. And that'll open up the Windows Explorer box here, so we can go ahead and name our preset. And just make sure you save it in your After Effects CC 2017 user presets folder. It should open there by default. And actually in this case, I've already saved a version of this effect here, so I'm not actually going to save it. But if you did, what it would do, you could open up your animation presets, and you'll see user presets, and then there's my faux Zolly effect. So just to demo this, I'll go ahead and find some new footage here. And this is actually a 4K shot, so it's a little bit different than the HD one we were working with, just to verify that it works with all sizes. And I'm just going to move the current time indicator a few seconds in, and I'll just drag and drop the effect. And I'll just hit U on the keyboard to show those keyframes. Now we can see the effect is working. So that's always nice, and it's going to keep it a lot faster for us when you want to use this effect in the future. Again, make sure you download the free faux Zolly After Effects preset from the PremiumBeat blog. And if you enjoyed the intro music from the effects montage, that song was called The Man Without Fear, and it's just one of the many royalty-free tracks that are available from PremiumBeat.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, this has been Charles Yeager for PremiumBeat.com.